Thank you for tuning in to Growing Tech Fast, the condensed Org3D podcast in which conversations about growing tech startups are had with those who have grown them. Today, I'm joined by Seline, founder at Darkblock. Chris, welcome. Thank you for joining us. For the purpose of everybody listening, what I would like to share with them is that our focus today is that this is going to be about NFTs and the creator space and who and what Darkblock is and how they're affecting that area. So let's just set the scene. But for the purpose of everybody listening, those who may be NFT fanatics and those who might not, could you give us a very brief layman's English of what is an NFT?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Rosie, for having me. I really appreciate it. I love talking about this subject. So very happy to be here today. What is an NFT? So really simply, an NFT is a certificate of ownership. So, but that can mean a lot of different things. So, when it comes to digital art, which really kind of helped the NFT market explode. For a long time, people created really amazing digital art, but they didn't really have good ways to monetize it. And so when this concept came around of the NFT, and I think it was originally called something like just a title, like very boring thing, it's a title. It's like a title to your car or a title to your house. This concept of ownership really people started to latch onto and to say that, yes, I could actually own, this piece of digital art. Whereas typically you just looked at digital art and then you went to someplace else. But now people can feel like they own it. They can be a part of it. They can support the artists that they are interested in. They can basically have this attachment to digital items. And that's what NFTs represent.
Why is that relevant to the creator space? It might help to explain a little bit about what creator space means.
Yeah, so at Darkblock, we talk a lot about the creator economy and what that means. And really it means that creators are in charge of what is created. And it's not these big platforms like Spotify or YouTube. Those are platforms that enable people to kind of get their content out there. But when we talk about the creator economy, we're talking about those artists, those musicians that are creating this content and giving them tools in order to engage with the community more, help monetize their content better, and really allow them to be successful. And we think that Web3 kind of helps them take extra steps in that direction, and especially NFTs, where they're finally able to engage with people more directly with their content and have people get excited about it, and then be able to kind of allow those fans to support their favorite artists, their favorite creators.
So when somebody is trying to get started or build a career in that space, at the moment, or maybe if we talk in the last couple of years as this has been a growing thing, what is available to them at the minute?
Yeah, so when it comes to some of the most successful artists and creators in the NFT space, a lot of them had followings prior to this. So Beeple had a lot of followers on Instagram, and through love of his craft, basically created so much content on a daily basis. He's creating a pretty amazing piece of content, had lots of people really interested in it, but had no ideas about monetizing this content. And I think no one was more surprised than him that he could actually monetize, especially to the degree that he has, all this really cool artwork that he's created. And I think the tools to kind of create a community are very important. Things like Twitter, Instagram, other social media tools. And then when it comes to kind of bringing those people into the NFT space, as a creator, you need to be creative. You need to think of interesting ways to do that, to set yourself apart. And some of it happened naturally for people who were already doing really cool things. But for others, it's another kind of expression, like another medium of expression for them, and they can use their creative juices and really build interesting, engaging projects that excite people in their community, or use that to grow communities. But yeah, you still need the web tools out there that help you engage with that audience. But this kind of takes it to a whole new level.
Got it. Okay. And so if you were because the thing that's going through my mind is I have friends who are artists and who you could say they're in that creator space, but they maybe don't have that following, or their reasonings for getting into it aren't coming from a how do I monetize this perspective, a little bit like that, the example you've just given. So do you find that's a blocker, that some people, they're just doing it to create art and they're not as focused on the money? Is that a thing in this, when you consider NFTs and the creator space?
It definitely is. So I mean, there are many creators out there who create pieces of art and then just go out and sell those to individuals, whether at a show or any other type of venue. I don't know a whole lot about that space, to be honest, but yeah, I know that there are many artists out there that's the way they operate. They don't try to cultivate an audience. They just want to build some cool stuff, and they would like to be able to support doing that again in the future. And I'm sure they love seeing their pieces on display, and they love having people that really find value in their art, and that art resonates with them. But they don't really take the time to build a community, because for them it's about the creation. So I think it will take some time, but I think that NFTs will enable a whole new class of people like that don't have audiences of millions of people and therefore make millions of dollars, but can monetize their creations on a much lower level, but still is able to support them instead of going out and getting some job to make money while they make art on the side. So I think it will enable a much larger creative economy class, but there's still a lot of tools that need to be created for those people to engage with those people.
I think to a certain extent, it's possibly from a lack of that structure being there. Like, this is how you, like, say this is what you enjoy doing, and you've created some sort of following with that. There isn't really okay, and this is how you make money from it. It's almost like people have trial and error. Some people have fallen into it and have gotten really lucky and have got huge. Other people who are just as good maybe don't have the tools or the means to get into that, where you really start to do more than just break even on things like that. So I think this is a really good place to bring Dark Block in. Where does Dark Block come in to a creator who has got that following and they're ready to monetize it? Where did Dark Block come from?
Yeah, so Dark Block started about 15 months ago now, and right as Beeple was kind of exploding, NFTs were becoming kind of part of more mainstream news. I took a look at what was going on in the art scene specifically, and I thought that we could offer more value for NFT ownership. And there's been a lot of work in the past year about extra value and about how the NFT can give you more than just a picture or saying that you own a picture when everybody else can access that picture. So, our thought there in the very beginning was that, quite simply, like, we could have a very high resolution version of the art that is reserved just for the owner of that NFT. Everybody else could see like a lower res version or some other preview version of the art, but we wanted to reserve something very special for the owner that they could display on the wall in their home. just like traditional art. So that's where we started. But as we went out and started talking to people about this, we realized that that was just the kind of the tip of the iceberg, that there were all sorts of other pieces of content that people wanted to monetize, or they wanted to include as upgrades to their NFT projects. We've talked to projects that released comic books in dark blocks, movies. There's really kind of no limit to what you can put in a dark block, but the goal there is to enable those NFT owners to have something special that nobody else has. And then we also have developed a piece where people can actually monetize that content as well. So not just access through ownership, but we have a rental protocol that we will be releasing this year that will enable creators to set up rules around how that content is engaged with, how people can access the content through pay-per-view or short-term rental, and then actually extend that monetization to the owner as well, so that owners and patrons can act as distributors of content and earn a portion of those proceeds themselves. So trying to extend the utility for content access as far as we can.
What's on the horizon? So I know you touched on it briefly there, that you're going to be releasing a further edition, but is there anything beyond that? You might not be able to tell us, but is there anything beyond that you've got on the plan?
Yeah, so we think that basically every piece of digital content in the future will be an NFT. It doesn't matter what it is: music, a blog post, a like on Facebook, etc., assets in the metaverse. We think that there's value in having each piece of content be represented by an NFT, and that we would like Darkblock to basically be the access control layer for that content. So, for social media content, you don't want necessarily everything to be wide open. For Facebook, they have to have certain content private. For the metaverse, you may want to have the only version of a pair of sneakers, or one of 100 versions of a pair of sneakers that you wear on your character in the metaverse. So we think there is value in protecting that content as well. But basically, we want to be this fundamental protocol that enables creators of this content to enable an access control that gives them control of that distribution, the monetization, and allows them to kind of set up the rules as they imagine them, rather than be beholden to platforms that they work with today.
So essentially, in the future, they can build their NFT business, as you could call it, in Darkblock. They can set the rules, set the expectations, but also manage that whole process within Darkblock.
Yeah, so we're a tool. So basically, the way we think of it is, we want to give creators more control over how they monetize their content, and we're a tool that allows them to do that. There will be other tools as well that plug into Darkblock or external to Darkblock, but we think this is one tool of many that they can utilize. And yes, between just creating an NFT and creating dark blocks, they can create kind of Patreon competitor models where they sell NFTs and then they continually add content to those NFTs via dark blocks. So we also enable people to upgrade their NFTs over time by adding more and more content. So you could see like a natural Patreon model kind of form just from NFTs and dark blocks. So that's something that we basically enable right now. There are other models as well, but that would require kind of more composability with the ecosystem, such as, we think that Darkblock has a place in the metaverse, but the metaverse would need to support the Darkblock protocol. So there, like long-term plays that require integration, but there are short-term plays where people can leverage their audiences or look to create more value. Right now from NFTs, like also crowdfunding is another example. We talked to a company earlier today that is a short film platform where they are engaging with writers of screenplays to see who has the most kind of interest in the community to have their screenplay developed into an actual short film. Well, there's also the opportunity there to be able to sell NFTs for that short film before it's created, and then afterwards you could drop the film onto those NFTs so that only those NFT owners have access to it, and that gives them a lot of value for taking part in the project.
It's all pretty cool. I think the one question, so I opened this conversation up to the office and just asked them, like, what questions would they have for you as somebody listening? It's preemptive, so potentially these are questions that are on people's mind. And although we're all pretty interested in NFTs, crypto, all that type of thing, there are some of them out there who don't know so much. And one of the questions was, if you're the owner of an NFT, and so let's say that they've bought one, and content is continually added in, and let's say, as a good example, a song is shared as a piece of content. As the owner of the NFT, are you able to share that however you want? Because I think what the question going through some people's mind is, in order to keep the value, do you need to keep that to yourself, or are you able to use it, distribute it however you want?
Yeah, so that is going to be up to the creator. So if the creator wants to have a more restrictive model, they would basically make it so that the owner is not able to directly download that content. That's not to say that it's 100% safe. Whenever you're accessing content, there's still going to be some way you can get at it and try to download it and then distribute it through other means. But for the most part, people are respectful of that, and you do have cases where people do take content and distribute it through other means. But for the most part, people are happy with using Spotify, using YouTube, using Netflix without taking the content and trying to do nefarious things with it. So we're not perfect when it comes to security. Can't be. There's always a way to break DRM solutions, but we would also enable creators to add a download button for that content and say, yes, you can download this, you can do what you want with it. So it's really about just giving a tool to the creator and allowing them to kind of set up those rules for what happens after that. So yeah, we've had cases where we absolutely want people to be able to download and post that content to social media, but others say, no, I would not like that. So we want to enable whatever the creator wants.
Interesting. Okay, so completely giving them total control. So if somebody's listening is thinking, this sounds really interesting, I'd like to be in a position to use Darkblock in the future. What do you think a creator needs to do, or where do you think they need to be at before they engage with Darkblock? Can they be at 0 followers? Do they need to have a following? Like, what's the perfect, if you could drum one up, what's the perfect starting point?
I think you need an idea. And, I think that Darkblock is another tool to help fuel interesting ideas. But I think, it starts with just having a fun idea that you can get behind. And I think that, if you're passionate about an idea and you're willing to put in the work, and there will be a lot of work, then that's the best place to start. Just taking content you've already created and just kind of throwing it in NFTs and praying, is it going to work? But if you're passionate about it and you're willing to do the legwork, and you got an idea, come to us at Darkblock. We'll help you out. Good.
Sounds like a great starting point. I think it also sounds a little bit like when somebody decides to create their own startup.
Very much.
Like, of course, you can have any old idea, but really it takes some real hard graft, time, dedication, and some persistence to get it over the line. So just to talk a little bit more from a generic perspective, like, what's the last year been like for you?
Crazy. I mean, as it is with pretty much all startups. This is my 4th startup, so I'm no stranger to the startup life, but I'd say this is by far the craziest startup I've ever done. This space moves so incredibly quickly, and everybody is building at the same time. It's not like, a bunch of stuff happened and then you're doing one new incremental thing. There are leaps and bounds at every corner in Web3. Nothing works right. Everything's new and fragile. And you're dealing with like people that just started their company, 3 months ago and raised millions of dollars. So it's like there's so much money being poured into it. There's so many people building at a frantic pace that it's insane. So good news is I feel like we at Darkblock, we found like a little niche for ourselves. Makes it easier for partners to deliver unlockable content. They don't have to go out and build it themselves. But at the same time, it's actually like a hard problem. So, the security aspect of it, building like a network of nodes that does all this encryption and protection is hard. So most people don't want to deal with it. So we're carving out a little bit of a niche, having a fun time, kind of in this crazy roller coaster.
If you could pinpoint anything, what would you say has been your favorite moment so far?
Favorite moment so far. So I think, there was our first seed investment, which was big. But our first actual money that was invested, I think, was our kind of moment that we thought we were onto something. We entered an Arweave hackathon at the very beginning of the company. I basically quit my job to do this hackathon. I had partnered with my cousin. He runs a creative agency. So he liked the idea. He had been doing a number of NFT projects with his creative agency. So he was on board. That was exciting. But then I met these two other guys through another friend who introduced me to the Arweave community, who also ended up investing in the company. These two guys ended up being co-founders. And so we entered this Arweave hackathon together. And then at the end, we worked our butts off, and we think we had a good showing, but you still don't know what to expect. Arweave ended up putting in a little bit of money, just $25,000, so not a ton of money, but that was just really great validation for the hard work we had done. And they introduced us to some investors, and it took us a little while to kind of hone our messaging and our value add, but we ended up raising some money through those contacts. So that initial 25,000, when they said we'll do that, we were like, that was amazing. That was validation.
I love that. It's like the seed planted,
Yep.
and then seeing the shoots come up. Okay, so if we think about moving into the future, and you've touched on a few different things that are on the horizon, if you could only do one thing in the next 12 months, but it would mean to you that if achieved, you'd been successful, what could you think of something?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, it's going to be about reach, but if we can nail down that single use case where we really enable a creator to make a living off of the content that they're locking in a Darkblock, that would be kind of a moment that kind of validates what we've been doing for the past 15 months, that this is all about creators, enabling creators with this new tool. I think that would be amazing if we could do that.
And what challenges do you think you've got to overcome? Maybe just pick one for the sake of.
There's a million of them, that's for sure. I mean, I think, I'm confident that we will get there. So I don't think there are any insurmountable challenges. But yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, especially in Web3. So the biggest challenge is making sure we stay focused, probably. There is so much opportunity out there that, early on, we started to do another project in parallel. We actually got a grant from Rarible to do this project, but it was not really kind of important to the core mission. So we actually gave the money back. Like we said, we didn't want the money, we wanted to focus. So staying focused, I think, is going to be our the key issue.
I think listening to that, I mean, particularly just the last little bit, it sounds like, I mean, I find the whole NFT space fascinating anyway, but for someone listening, I think there's some really cool things that you're going to be doing over the next 12 months, but there's also some challenges which actually overcoming them might even feel a little bit better than what you said you'd be happy with if you achieved. I think sometimes getting over challenging hurdles, you get a little bit more from it sometimes. So if someone's listening and thinks, hey, this sounds like a cool idea, but it also sounds like something really fun to get on board, like whether it's now, whether it's in a year, whether it's in 2 years, what would you say is a reason someone could want to join Darkblock? What's the culture like?
Yeah, the culture, that's a good question, because we've been really like examining our culture and trying to make sure our culture is baked into everything we're doing. It really is about like putting the creator first and the builder all as well. So we, the creator is the artist, is the musician. The builder is, somebody building a marketplace or a new platform for engaging with NFTs. We need to enable builders to serve creators better by making tools that work for both. So like our kind of culture is about making sure that we're going the extra mile for both of these categories of people. But in the end, like, this is all about the creator, making a tool that is great for the creator.
Love that. Okay, well, my final question, ask it every time. If the audience only takes one thing from this podcast, what do you want them to take?
This is just the beginning. I mean, almost everybody in the space says that, so it feels cliche, but it really is just the beginning. And I think there's a lot of exciting things going on, but if you have an idea and you're passionate about it, I recommend going for it, because there is so much opportunity out there still. You're not late, at all. Just go for it.
Brilliant. Well, Chris, thank you so much. It's been wonderful. And if anyone is thinking about getting in touch, there'll be some links in the main description or in the comments section to direct you straight to Darkblock.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rosie. This was fun. Appreciate it.
Good.